Welcome to the Mystical Journey podcast. I am your host, Hervé Geneza. This is where we investigate together whether it's possible to be completely free. I wonder if we can trigger a permanent and irreversible change. I am referring to a revolution of the mind beyond all concepts. And I wonder if we can do it together with 100% sincerity, with no stones left unturned. Today's topic is enlightenment. It has been talked about a lot, and it has been said that beyond all spiritual practices lies a place, maybe a state of mind, that is no level, or perhaps a level beyond time, often called enlightenment. Through different and various spiritual systems, it has been called total liberation. It has been called moksha. It has been called nirvana. It has been called man returning back to its essence, to the divine, and many other terms have been thrown around for years. Fast forward, these days enlightenment has been turned into a superpower, something that might be only reserved to the advanced beings, perhaps maybe even only exclusive to beings like Buddha or the advanced yogis across the world, or perhaps very advanced mystics that do have some sort of access to a world that we don't have access to, or some teachers in systems like Zen Buddhism. So that's why most of us don't even think it's possible to be enlightened. Perhaps we don't even know what it means, right? Or what is not. So we need to go through this exercise together and find out how would enlightenment look like in your everyday life. What is exactly enlightenment? I wonder if this can actually be achieved, if it can be sought. We need to understand what prevents it. And is it possible truly and really to be enlightened today? So those would be the sections for this episode. One thing that comes in mind when it comes to enlightenment is basically the end of all suffering. This has been talked about by Buddha a lot, but it's so it makes sense today. The end of all suffering for human beings. It has to be broken down to really understand if we even suffer. We are not concerned in finding out any or belonging to any spiritual systems, because we want to be a light to ourselves. We want to think for ourselves. Okay, we're not against any system or any religions, but perhaps their times or their existence haven't produced what human beings wanted, because after all, human beings still seem very miserable and completely unfulfilled. So we need to understand the whole process and the whole problem. Spend more time understanding the problem rather finding a solution to something we haven't actually grasped together, right? Most of the time we think that we need to get information or understanding and then action on it, right? So you listen, then you take action. The action and the listening are separated. So which means you need to understand first in order to act. This is how we are conditioned, of course, through education. But perhaps today what we can do is listen, understand, observe with no judgment, and actually act at the same time. Understanding, listening, and observing is also action, because this is a revolution of the mind. It's a lot of corruption found in the psychological realm of our minds. So how would enlightenment look like? Right? If it was possible, how would it look like every day? Well, enlightenment gives you a sense of detachment to every situations, right? It means whether a situation is good or bad, you're looking at the actual situation from a sense of from a place of no time. It means you're not actually emotionally invested in any situation, yet you're still fully present. This is not some sort of detachment in which we are fearful of the outcome of a situation, but however, we're not actually trying to, because we don't want to get hurt, so we willingly, with a lot of will, we detach ourselves from this situation because we don't want to get hurt, right? That's not the same thing. I'm referring to us, this I, this me, right? This ego, this thinking system that experiences this realm, right? It's the realm of five senses, right? And it is going through situations. However, we're looking at this ego, this thinking system, from a realm from no time, which means that it doesn't matter what happens, really, when you think about it. Problems are nothing but situations that can be dealt with if you can, but if you can't, it still doesn't matter. This is not a place, this is not a state in which you're careless, right? You simply don't find your identity in a situation, in any situation. To be involved, to be to have attention, or to be focused in a situation has nothing to do with attachment. Attachment is thinking that there is an identity through anything, absolutely anything. And we have to go through each on anything that matters to us to really see if we are identified with our connection to it. Right, so enlightenment will look like going to school, going to work, just like anybody, but being completely detached from anything that's being done, right? So that would give us a sense of liberation, all right? It's a sense of where there's absolutely no more corruption, no more conflict inner, right? The inner self is not in conflict. Then from there, all your physical bodies, your physical body, including your emotional body, or your light body, or your spiritual bodies, are actually able to receive the entire divine power, or the essence. In fact, now you can actually live with all your senses fully activated. This is how you can meet a person who's enlightened, and when they talk to you, they give you their entire being. Their entire attention is guided and focused on you, because that's all they can do. All their senses are fully activated. In fact, it is said that most people that are enlightened, when you interact with them, you can't phase them. You can't phase them because they're so present that when you speak with them, they are fully awake, right? And you can feel it. So that would actually also improve every realm in your everyday life. It means relationships, right? It means when you interact with a person, you don't actually look at them from a sense of an ego-based mind, a thinking mind, in which you create an idea in your mind that how this person should be. You actually detach yourself from this ego, and you look at them from a place with no time or no ideas and no concepts, which means you can actually see their essence. This is so powerful that it can actually impact every relationship you have, whether it's business, whether it's romantic, whether it's friendship. There are people in this world that never actually experience friendship or a true, deep, timeless connection, because their connection is coming from a thinking mind, right? That we need to explore, by the way. A thinking mind that has an idea what the other person is, but can never actually see their essence. Only essence can actually see essence, right? So this also gives you that peaceful mind that has been talked about by the sages, right? In which this person looks completely zen, more of a zen feeling. It's not so much about a happy feeling, because happiness usually has a lot of fluctuations, but more of a joyful feeling. It means they seem to be so good. They're feeling good all the time. They're not super excited. They're actually not also disappointed either. It's almost like a middle ground, right? But they seem to actually be full of vitality, right? This is what enlightenment usually can look like in everyday life. And when those people, when we are enlightened, which is a feeling that's not exclusive to anybody, everybody has access to it, and this should be the only ultimate purpose of any spiritual practice. It doesn't matter what it is. If spirituality is not about being enlightened, then we haven't understood what this realm is about, or the thinking mind, or the ego, right? So becoming enlightened, or becoming awakening to the fact that there is essence that is out of time, that's feeding this thinking mind, we can actually solve every problem in society, from a personal level to a collective level. Then we can actually tap into the real meaning of compassion and kindness and true power, not power over anybody. We have no clue what kindness is and compassion is until you become enlightened, you become awakened. And we'll talk about it, why we don't have an idea. We don't really know that, because anything that's born in time, it belongs to the thinking mind that's usually called the ego. Anything that's born in time has to have an end, right? There is a beginning and an end. It has to decay. There's a life shelf of it, right? So because it's temporal, it's is short-lived. It cannot actually have the actual essence of the divine. That which is actually nameless and unknown cannot be known. And that's actually hard to describe and talk about. This is why these conversations are so hard to have. So kindness, compassion, power, and of course, you guessed it, love. I have no doubt that millions and billions of people have ever actually experienced what these people call divine love. You can't experience that until you actually fully and absolutely, permanently, irreversibly detached from every concept, every belief. The belief about yourself, the belief about the afterlife, the belief about heaven, the belief about hell, the belief about, society and all these dogmas and the doctrines and concepts that we create. So enlightenment is the end of all problems, of all suffering, of all corruption, of all conflict. So then let's look at what enlightenment is not. Right? Because these days, the spiritual community or the spiritual industry, if you will, has so many to offer, so many things to offer. Right? These days, there is the Tibetan meditation, the Hindu meditation, the Kemetic meditation, ancient meditation, secret meditation, meditation of a specific teacher, meditation of a spiritual guru. There is hot yoga, all kinds of yoga, right? There are so many abilities that are actually being unlocked these days, right? We are referring to all these things as spirituality, as it should, just because, for lack of a better word, right? But usually it stops there, right? So we partake into pretty much everything, as in working with crystals, which are very powerful. Some people do have the ability through training to see auras. Some people do have the ability to channel, connect other beings. Some people do have the ability to do remote healing, remote viewing, astral projection, speaking with outside entities, extraterrestrial. Some people have the ability to do so much. And this is all in the name of spirituality, right? Some people even refer to being connected to Mother Earth, being in tune with nature. All of that is great, right? But I can assure you that all of that combined isn't enlightenment. It might be spirituality, but it's not enlightenment, right? Enlightenment lies outside of all realms, of all spiritual systems, of all religions, right? Because even Christians and Muslims, they do have what they call contemplation, right? So there is also the mystical side of Christianity, right, that have some sort of meditation as well. So if you truly observe, you realize that techniques, ways of doing things are everywhere, and I can assure you that there will be more techniques being created. And you have to wonder, what is exactly, why is these techniques, these concepts, these ideas aren't enlightenment, right? There are a few reasons why because they have something in common. If you look at, for example, most of people meditating, there's usually that you are meditating, you partaking into a meditation. There's always a separation between the person who's meditating, the actual meditation, and I guess the meditative state. This is very similar to a person who's partaking into any what they call ritual. Really, there's always the person who's creating the ritual. There is the actual ritual itself, which are the steps that might be channeled or focused on a specific god or ancestor, and then there is the ancestor and the god. There are like threefold. They're all separated, right? And hopefully this person gets the energy that moves from them to basically through a system, right? A steps, and then it gets completed by the god or the ancestor, right? Or whatever they say this ritual is supposed to do. And that actually tells you the separation that happens with techniques, right? Every technique, pretty much, and every concept is the same. To have a concept is to have an idea of, right? The idea of isn't the actual thing. This is why even me talking about enlightenment, what's going to happen into your thinking mind. Your thinking mind is going to absorb this information and trying to turn that into an idea, right? A concept, just because I'm feeding you some information. But really, this is why it's great to observe and listen with absolutely no agenda. There's no need to take a stand and say, I don't agree with this or I disagree with this. Because we're constantly torn apart between, I agree and disagree. I believe in the light and I hate the darkness. There's an enemy and there is a good guy, right? The left is always pulling and the right is always pulling as well. And then we need to take a stand. Each time you take a stand, you're proving your separation. Because there is absolutely no separation in enlightenment, right? Because the divine, that which is unknowable, is whole. To be whole, to see exactly, have no separation, right? It's not a lack of things, it's having all things. So enlightenment couldn't be what I like to call extrasensory perception, in which human beings have a lot of powers and they can enhance this thinking mind, right? To enhance it and give it more abilities, right? It's like buying a car or having a car and adding more tools and options and stuff that make it look better and also more powerful. But he still has to rot. Doesn't matter what happens. This car has to break down. It's guaranteed that this car has to break down. But what I'm referring to is something beyond time, right? That doesn't actually have a beginning and end. This is who we truly are, right? And or would I say this is where the thinking mind that's involved in a world of patterns, right? The left and right, the up and down, is born of, right? We identified with the thinking mind, and we forgot about that which is nameless, that which is enlightened, that which is beyond all concepts. So now I have a question. Can enlightenment, this state, this feeling, this nirvana, the end of all problems, the end of all suffering, the end of all conflicts. Can that be achieved? Basically, can someone who's truly, really mean it say, you know what, I've had enough. I've had many incarnations on this world, and I've collected so many abilities. I have the ability to heal and astral project, levitate. I can do anything. But perhaps there's something more, right? I want to break all cycles. So can that be achieved? Can you achieve it? Can you seek it? Can you arrive at enlightenment? Let's look into it. I don't want to give you the answer because that would be too easy, or it wouldn't actually make sense. Because enlightenment is a state of outside of time, right? In which there's only presence exists, and not the idea of the present moment that we talk about. The actual omnipresence, meaning you can't not be present when you're enlightened. Then the idea of achieving enlightenment, meaning you have a beginning, you have a start date, right? So today I've decided to become enlightened, so I'm going to partake in exercises, maybe an advanced meditation, or maybe some advanced yoga, or some advanced chanting, or some advanced anything, right? So then we time, hopefully within a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'll be so good that I'll be enlightened, right? That right there, it is a thinking mind, right? The thinking mind that is born out of time thinks he can take anything that he hears and turn it into a concept and then start working on it. Because the thinking mind is so deceptive. The thinking mind, this ego, is so deceptive and cunning that it always offers you a way that you can work things out, right? To work on things. Now, this thinking mind is very valuable when you're doing things such as going to work and fix stuff, right? Live in this world, there's no problem with that. But the thinking mind that has an end time and a beginning is going to help you understand something that's actually out of time. It's such a, you're already doomed for failure. Enlightenment cannot be achieved. You cannot work yourself into enlightenment. You cannot even buy it. You cannot go to a guru and have them give you enlightenment. There's absolutely no one who can give you enlightenment. You have to become a light to yourself. There's absolutely no one who can offers us this amazing feeling of state. I know this is very disappointing for anyone who's willing, who has maybe a lot of discipline, who's looking to get somewhere. But this is also great news, because it means from now on you can actually start considering listening to information like this, just by observing the thinking mind, listening to it, this physical body, listening to it, right? Be the observer of this thinking mind without actually trying to get into control or do something, right? Just be the observer and be the listener behind this information. And that right there, the listening and the observing and the understanding actually becomes the action that's done instantly to be enlightened. So because no time is involved, so when you become enlightened or awakened, it's done instantly. And a lot of systems who manage to actually accomplish it, they have proven that as well. So enlightenment it happens in a blink of an eye. You don't do it. I would say, some people even say it happens to you. You don't do it. There's absolutely no book you can read that can help you become enlightened. Because when one is ready to awake, then they just simply awake. It's the fear of leaving the identification you have with the thinking mind that knows that it's going to end, that makes you now willing to give it up. And because the thinking system of the thinking mind is also involved in staying alive, staying relevant, it'll always give you a hard time and be cunning and deceptive, and always offer you something to get to hold on to it. It doesn't matter what it is, right? Now, my message here is slightly different from what we usually hear on the market, because I understand that right now most people are looking for ways, right? They're looking for ways, a concept, a technique, a way to do things. And what I'm offering is just observing, listening, the observation of, and the listening and the understanding that becomes an action. You can still partake in those concepts, but you still really have to be 100% honest with you that those concepts hardly ever offer you enlightenment. It's something you have to offer yourself. Now, these days, the gurus have made billions of dollars offering something sacred, something special, something secret from the ancient times, something that maybe we may have missed in all these holy books and texts. And you have the Hindu text, you have the Sumerian text, you have the ancient Egyptian text, the Africans that are Kemetic as well have their texts. Everybody have the special text. They have the holy lands, they have the holy objects, they have all these things that are sacred. But rarely are we told what is the ultimate goal of all things, of all these things, transcending absolutely, but absolutely, permanently, irreversibly, any idea, any concept, any religion, any dogma, nationalism, communism, capitalism, friendship, anything that you have an idea of is of the thinking mind. Therefore, it gets in the way of you becoming enlightened. Thank you very much for listening to the mystical journey. So the perhaps what I think that the next episode will be about to really tackle and look at what organized ideas are, because of organized ideas are the very reason, organized ideas, I'm referring to religions, spiritual systems, anything that's organized and that has an idea that can be actually expressed is the reason why the thinking mind gets so strong, and then we are identified with it. Therefore, we can't really awaken or become enlightened. We really need to tackle these concepts and look at exactly what they are. You have to go on all these ideas, as much as they can be very attractive, very emotional, very sensitive, very romantic, very nice. Our only concern is self-liberation. total liberation, right? And there's absolutely, we cannot afford not to end all these ideas, but it has to be done right. And we have to spend more time. We have to spend more time understanding the problem than actually trying to resolve it. All right, so please subscribe, like, and share this content. Follow the Mystical Journey social medias channels, and also subscribe to our Apple podcast, where you can find much more audios and other content that are not on the YouTube channel. We're also currently working on 3 health products that I think you'll be very excited about, that helps with basically they're in line with what we talk about, right? Being present, being able to detach, or to be completely zen. There are products that can help in this. I'm looking forward to announcing their launch sometimes in November, and hopefully we get to support and you get to have amazing products. Thank you very much. See you soon.